future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
Hello, welcome. This is Christy Reeves, and I am so excited you're joining me today. I have a very special guest on the show, and I'm so honored she's joining us for the next 50 minutes and sharing her amazing, amazing experiences and all her beautiful wisdom. As an author, writer, and angelic practitioner, a Reiki Master Teacher, inspirational speaker, and international radio show host on her weekly Angel Healing House radio program since 2012, Claire Candy Hough helps others to connect to their divine, eternal natures. She established her business, Angel Healing House, in 2003 after her Angelic Walk-In experience when the former soul of Claire Candy contracted to exit and walk out of her human incarnation early, and Angel Ariel walked in to be in service to humanity. Claire Candy chronicles this extraordinary experience in her autobiography, I Am an Angelic Walk-In, which is the sequel to her remarkable channeled novel, One True Home, Behind the Veil of Forgetfulness. Her first channeled book, Angels of Faith, is based on her two near-death experiences. Known for her extraordinary ability to channel messages from the angelic realm, this straight-shooting and grounded healing practitioner is loved and admired by her international clientele for the transformative effect that she has on their lives. I am so excited to welcome the beautiful Claire Candy Hough. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, Christy. It's such a joy being with you and an honor being on your TV program. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I've been looking forward to this all week, ever since we talked about you coming onto the show today. And you have so much wisdom to share. And, I had readings done with you, and I'm always blown away by the clarity that comes through and the information that is so powerful, but yet at the same time, it really is so grounded into this energy of this earthly plane.
Yes, and a lot of times people have said that I'm confrontationally loving because I don't pull any punches. Mm-hmm. The posse of angels and I are very direct, mm-hmm. and it is our goal for, to help others to remember their divine eternal natures, because once we live from the divine inside each and every one of us, then our lives flow with ease and grace and joy and positivity, and our attitudes and perceptions guide us from that divine rudder that we are on, and life just becomes heaven on earth.
That is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
I actually would like to have you share what is a walk-in or an angelic walk-in.
Right. Well, to start with, a walk-in happens as a result of a soul, a human soul on the earth plane who unconsciously and consciously, I guess, they don't want to keep their contract going, and because of extended pain and suffering, they just don't want to be in their incarnation anymore. And we on the other side of the veil, we know how important it is to learn our lessons in contrast, in some suffering, in some hardship and adversity. But in the last 30 years, well, certainly since the harmonic convergence of 1987, and if you don't know about that, look it up. I'm not going to get into that because it's only a 15-minute show. But there was a tipping point in the world where the souls, there were enough souls that said, we do not want to destroy our beautiful planet, and the consciousness started to shift. And so it was so important for every soul to hold as much light as possible. And the former soul who was in this body just lost her light. I write about this in my autobiography, I'm an Angelic Walk-In, and she just could not find her way to the divine inside of her, and so again, we on the other side don't want souls to suffer interminably. And so I came to the former soul of Claire Candy and said, please don't kill yourself. She had tried to commit suicide twice, and third time would have been the charm. And I said, you can go up to God with honors if you walk out of the body, and then if you allow me to walk in, I will take over your life. I will take over all of your responsibilities, clean up your life, and then get on with my mission of being able to be of service to humanity. And it wasn't as if I just visited her once and then abracadabra, she said, oh, okay. Because saying you want to leave your life in theory and actually agreeing 100% to do it in practice are two different things. I visited her for about 2.5 years before she acquiesced to this agreement. And we decided to, the intersection episode would be during a meditation. And she had only started to meditate 6 weeks before this, as she was just not clear and open. And that was on January 11th of 2003. And I remember because I have her complete mental imprint. She lit very tall taper candles. She didn't play music that night, that evening, and she just decided to meditate in peace. And I remember when she closed her eyes, she felt like a blanket had come over her. And because she was such a tortured soul, she only could get maybe 5 or 10 minutes of meditation, but before the monkey mind chatter came in, and she closed her eyes. And when I opened my eyes, it was about 5 hours later, and I didn't know where the time had gone, but I was living the wrong life. Everything around her was negative. The people around her, because like attracts like, she was not light inside, and she carried so much negativity that her reality, where she lived, her relationships, and so I did not know what happened to me. I certainly didn't. You don't come in with a handbook attached to you that says, I've had a walk-in experience, but I knew that I had to detach myself because it was two things that were really important to me when I walked in. Was to honor and respect myself, whereas for 47.5 years I had not honored and respected myself in any way. I was a victim. I blamed. There was just so much that I write about, and I'm in Angelic Walk-In. And the other one was following the voice of God. And the former soul was not particularly religious, and she was not spiritual at all. And that became the guiding light in my life. Following the voice of the divine inside of me. And from one day to the next, I followed the principles that Angel Healing House is built on, which is take responsibility for your life, forgive to lift the burden off of unforgiveness off your soul, completely abolish all judgment, judge ye not that ye be judged yourself, was to put your emphasis on your blessings and the gratitude and appreciation, and unconditionally love. And those are the 5 principles that Angel Healing House have always been built on. And once you do that, there's no blaming. There's no being a victim. There's no finding fault. And so once I started on that path, then I started to carefully dissect my life, only take in those things that were positive and loving, and I wasn't angry and I wasn't mean at anybody, but the energies were so disparate that people just started to drift out of my life, and then like-minded people started to come in. And it was after 3 months of living these characteristics that so many walk-ins have endemic to each other that I drew to myself an international clairvoyant, and also in a few days after that, a spiritual healer, and both of them confirmed that I had a walk-in experience.
How amazing.
So well, it's interesting. A lot of people said, well, you say you have an angelic walk-in experience. Are there other walk-ins? And yes, there are. I'll just go briefly into that.
Yes, please.
Because the one we know, probably the ones that we're most familiar with as far as walk-ins go, are Jesus and Buddha. You know, they came back at a time to enlighten the planet. So they're those hierarchical figures that come back and bring tremendous amounts of light to the world. There are star seeds, people from other galaxies, other star systems that come back, and they incarnate in human form, and they don't take over bodies, because it's 100% agreement between the Earth soul and that star seed.
Yes.
It could be a spirit guide. It could be someone on the other side who has advanced spiritual knowledge and wants to come back and be of service to humanity in this way. Or the other one is the angels that come back and they incarnate in human form. And that's what happened to me.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I just want to circle back. You said when you had that walk-in experience, it wasn't like you woke up the next day and you could remember everything that happened before.
No.
And I feel like it's such a beautiful metaphor, because I believe we all write our soul contracts for our life, and I call it the movie script for our lives.
Yes.
Where we write down, these are the lessons I want to learn. These are the missions I'm choosing to live, or these are the gifts I'm choosing to cultivate in this lifetimes. And even writing down who my family is, writing down certain people we're going to meet, no matter if it's for support or as a mirror that is being held right in front of us to learn these lessons. Yeah. And we write all these things into our soul contract, and then we're being born, not as an... not always as a walk-in, but we're being born as little babies, and we have no recollection of what we wrote. And then these lessons are showing up, or certain people are showing up, and we go like, why is this happening?
Yes.
And it's an awakening of remembering, why am I here?
Yeah.
And why are these lessons showing up? And also acknowledge, like, well, maybe at some point I actually chose to learn this.
Yes.
And what is it? And so I would love to talk to you, or have you talk about it a little bit.
Absolutely.
How your awakening was to remembering these gifts, and what supported you in remembering these gifts.
Well, even going back before the walk-in experience, well, when I came in, I started to remember my lives as Ariel, because I wasn't always Angel Ariel. And I speak about this in my book, One True Home, Behind the Veil of Forgetfulness.
It's an amazing book.
And it's a book about past lives, but it's a very differently written book than other books on past lives, because I start with my life as an Egyptian princess, and then what I experienced there, and then when I crossed over, then I went back to my one true home across the veil, and I went through the usual journey, which was a homecoming party, and then my life's review and meeting with the Etheric Council. And when we meet with the Etheric Council, they take our book of life off the shelf, they open up the contract, and they say, how did you go? And we look back over the lessons that we had contracted to learn, and how did we go? And afterwards, they don't give us a pass or fail. They pat us on the back for having the courage to come back to a place where it's so difficult to find love and acceptance, and there's so much things that are not of the light on our planet. And so they pat us on the back and they say, okay, now what do you want to do now that you're in your one true home? We're not just given a harp and a halo and said, go float around. There are so many different levels that we can work on and we can contribute. And I speak about that. I speak about that in my book, One True Home. But then nobody's forced to come back and have another physical incarnation. And so, but if we should choose to do so, and a lot of people do go to spiritual school on the other side across the veil to find out about their lives and why things happened. And if they should so choose to come back, then they choose their gender, they choose their circumstances, they choose a time and era, all of these things to then help support the lessons which they chose. And then I came back in as a healer in 14th century Scotland. And a little bit of a spoiler, I was burnt at the stake by the church because they didn't like that I was empowering the people. And then the arc goes back to the afterlife and the lessons that I learned and then it comes in again, and there's 5 different lives it goes through, and it shows that these were the my most important past lives, because I grew the most spiritually, and then having grown spiritually from this, then I chose to give up my will and become an angel in service to the divine. And by giving up my will, the greatest thing that I can do is to be of service to God. There is no other higher thing. There is no agenda. If God, and it's interesting, the last 14 years since my walk-in experience, and finding my twin flame, my beloved twin flame Pete, after 9 months, the way we live our lives is certainly not a template for the faint-hearted.
Yes.
We fearlessly follow.
Yeah.
We fearlessly follow the dreams of our imagination. We fearlessly follow the voice of God, the voice of the divine inside of us. Move continents, move here, move there, bring forth this, bring forth that, and we don't worry about how we'll be provided for, because if God asks us to do that, we've always been provided for. And so that's been a little bit of a background to what happened before the walk-in experience, you know. And then once that happened, everything started to unfold for me, because I just was led by that divine, by that voice, and I never questioned it. And everything folded, you know, unfolded as a result of that. Yeah. Absolutely, miracles and synchronicities and lots of magic, and
That is absolutely beautiful, and I love your expression, like literally following the voice of the divine and listening within, because I feel like there's often so much chatter on the outside, and we're being told this is how you should do it. Or we talked about group consciousness, where society, group consciousness, or even the family we come from dictates how we should live our life, and it's the should live our life.
Yes.
Instead of really tuning within and following that inner voice, that inner calling. And you're such a perfect and beautiful example of following that inner calling, that inner voice. And what, you know, for anybody who's listening today, what suggestions do you have for them to learn how to listen to that inner voice, especially because we've been so programmed to listen to that interior chatter? Or you talked about that monkey voice, the mind chatter, and hearing everything. So what supported you, or what can you tell our listeners, what would support them to learn how to reconnect to that inner voice so they can actually hear that kind of guidance apart from all that external?
Well, we've come to only rely on our linear, limited mind, because we came from the Piscean age, which ended in 2012, which was the era of I do, therefore I am. It was the age of reason. It was the age of logic. It was the age of, you know, thinking our way out of things and then doing things. And now with the shift, as we divine as we divine into our crystalline bodies, which are having a heck of a time.
Yes.
Where they're having a heck of a time trying to keep up with our consciousness. And please be gentle on yourself, because the ascension symptoms we're going through are mind-boggling. So we have to understand that now, with shifting into the age of Aquarius, it's the age of being, and we will be able to achieve so much more if we practice the art of allowance and just being. So a lot of things will be presented to you which will be not logical, not rational, not what your family wants, or not what your community, or not what the media wants, or not what so many groups who have their own agendas to be able to control and to keep us in fear, but to just trust that inner voice of ours. I've taught so many Reiki students and attuned so many masters over my years since my walk-in experience, and I always say, if the messages are not positive, if they're not inspiring, if they're not joyful, if they don't make you feel good, then they're not coming from source. Then they're not coming from the highest source possible. So a lot of people will actually stop themselves from doing things because it doesn't make logical sense. I said on my Angel Healing House radio program the other day that, this month on Angel Healing House Radio, because of tax time, we're talking about abundance. And yesterday's theme was abundance is your nature, not money. And so, I was saying that that we all have been gifted with an ability and a talent, something which when we're doing it, we lose all track of time. And it's like breathing for us. And it was like akin to my writing. I never wrote for money. I never wrote for fame. I never wrote for success. I did that because I knew as a child that I loved to write. And I loved to read my stories to people. And then when I became a teenager, and, people ask me, what are you going to be? I'm going to be a writer. Oh, you're going to be a starving writer? No, you have to choose. And this was in the 50s, too, and the 60s. No, you have to become a teacher or a receptionist or a secretary or a nurse. Those are good, sensible things to become. Yeah. And I became a primary school teacher, and I was a very good primary school teacher, but I was a very good, depressed primary school teacher because my creative nature that I seeded and co-created myself as a writer was dampened for so long. And once I opened up to this, there's just no stopping me. I mean, it's just, and people will say, well, how am I going to do that? I'm not going to make any money out of it. And I said, if you put money before your creativity and your passion, then you will always come up short. You'll always come up short. As a result, one of the results of my writing has been money, but it's been all forms of abundance and all forms of opportunities and connections that have become, these books, these 3 books have become my calling card. Yeah. And with putting them out there and having the authenticity and, I guess, audacity to come out and say, I am Angel Ariel in this body. That doesn't make me special. That doesn't make me superior. But I'll be damned if I'm going to let anybody tell me that I can't say that and that I can't live this life that I authentically own. And I'm transparent about it and I'm open. And so many people resonate with that. And so it's like a calling card to have me on programs and to open up different avenues where I can have a global audience to speak about this.
And I love how you said it so beautifully. You were a good teacher, but a very depressed teacher at the same time. and it's so. And again, I feel it's such a time for ourselves to give our permission to have the audacity to be authentic. Yes, that's kind of been my line for the past few years. Have the audacity to be authentic. Yeah. Go out of this little box that you were put in and give yourself permission to be happy. Yeah. And then I feel if we give ourselves permission, once we give ourselves permission to be happy, the abundance will follow, the support will follow. It's our happiness that will attract the right people, the right opportunities to come our way.
Yes. Every time we honor ourselves and people say, well, I won't leave this job, which is not honoring to me, until I get a next job. And I said, that's not how life works. I said, the only way we learn faith is to have faith. You have to let go of this to open up your hand so that the divine can put something in. And I said, the thing about honoring ourselves is every time we take that leap of faith, on the other side are miracles. Yes. It's just waiting there for us. But I've seen it in my healing practice where so many people sit there and the angels have their arms folded and they're saying, do something, do something, do something. We've sent you signs. We're speaking through your heart. You know this. And you keep stopping yourself. And as soon as you take that inspired action forward, then life can bring you the opportunities and the abundance. I was going to say, those people that do not take that step forward, the angels weep the hardest when they see people who arrive at the Etheric Council. And the Etheric Council said, you had the opportunity to X, Y, and Z. We brought that opportunity to you, but you never consummated that. You never, allowed yourself the freedom to be fearless and live the dreams of your imagination. And the angels weep because those people have such massive regret. I wish I had allowed myself to, and then fill in the blank. The worst thing in the world is to have regrets at the end of your beautiful journey here, and to say, well, what if I had only done such and such? It's it's a terrible thing to have regrets.
I remember I was still living in Germany at that time, and I ordered Henry David Thoreau's Walden. And I read this book, and it changed my life. So whoever hasn't read this book, read Walden. And there's one passage where Thoreau talks about going into the woods and really connecting to his source, and not living his life dictated by external circumstances or by the ticking of the clock, as he calls it. And there's one line, and I think that's the line that changed my life, where he says, I didn't want to wake up on my deathbed realizing that I had not lived my life.
Yes. Yeah.
And when I read that line, I literally packed my bags and finally did the things that I've been wanting to do. I took that leap of faith. And I don't know if I ever shared that story with you, but I was in a situation where I had certain things planned in my life. I'm like, this is what I'm going to do because this is what I'm told I should do. And I was getting sick, and it started with little things. Whenever I had to go back to work, I would get a stomach flu, or I would get a cold, and then I had shin splints, so I couldn't dance. And the universe was kind of going like this, hey, you're not doing the right thing. You're doing something that is a compromise and not what makes you happy. And then I ended up getting so sick that I had to take several months, like a couple of months off school, and just be at my parents' home and recover. And I went back, and the symptoms kept coming back. And my doctor said, well, if I run a blood test, you're not showing anything in your body. I'm really surprised you're still having symptoms. But it was the universe telling me, you're not following your heart. You're living what you're told to do and not what your soul is choosing.
Exactly.
And I remember going to Canada on a vacation for 2 weeks, and I forgot I was, on homeopathic medicine, herbs and homeopathics, and I forgot everything at my parents' house. And within 24 hours, the symptoms disappeared. And I came back to Germany to go back to school a couple of days later, and all the symptoms came back. And in that moment, I knew, I'm not on the right path. And I went to the school, and I sat down with the dean of education. I said, I am leaving. This is making me very unhappy, and my body has been sick for 2 years. I am out of here. And the moment I made that choice, my body literally healed overnight. It was that choosing of happiness and following my inner voice that I had listened to for 2 years. And luckily, it only took me 2 years, and it didn't go any worse than it actually was. And ever since then, I've been also using my body as that inner compass, as that calibration whenever, even if it's just a stomach ache or my knees hurting or whatever is going on, to go like, what is the universe trying to tell me? Something is off over here. What is the shift that I am needing to make over here?
And we have been programmed as a society to whenever something is off in our body, is to take a pill to palliate it, to stop the pain, or to force whatever skin irritation back in the body, and then it has to come out somewhere else. It just doesn't go away abracadabra. And so instead of really looking at that from an emotional point of view and saying, there must be something inside of me that's not emotionally happy. It's not honoring to me. It's not respecting me in any way. And so once that's dealt with, in my sessions, I call it exhuming the crypt because we get down so low, to find out what that is. And once, and it's like going to the dentist, and the dentist say you have a toothache, and the dentist just puts something on top of it, but doesn't get rid of the decay, and then eventually that decay is just going to get worse and going to other parts of the body. And so once you really have to take that accountability and responsibility, and so I've seen it so many times in my healing practice that, people want to blame. They don't want to find fault outside of themselves, and they don't want to take responsibility and accountability for their own lives. And so many times when people tell me the story of their lives, they can finally see their contribution, and that the common denominator in failed relationships or difficult work situations, they were the common denominator. And once they changed, then their reality started to change. It's interesting what you said about following everybody else's path in life instead of our own. I often say that life was meant to be experienced. It wasn't meant to be figured out. And that's where so many people have a failing in that. I've had so many people, when they find out I'm an author, they've read my books, they said, "Oh, I've got a great idea for a book." And I said, "Oh, yeah, have you written it?" "Well, I'm wondering how I'm going to market it. I'm wondering how I'm going to distribute it. And then I haven't gotten the title yet." "Did you write the book did you write the contents before the preface, or did you write a foreword to it?" I said, "You haven't written one word yet." I mean, it's like, I said, "How is the universe gonna send you opportunities and connections for your world book tour if you haven't even written the book yet? You haven't written one word yet." I said, "Write the damn story first, and then let God and the angels show you the signs how to step forward." If we could, you said to help. What would you suggest to help people to follow that life of ease and grace? The angels, and we all have angels around us, they are sending us signs continually. They have no other purpose. They don't have this funny little body. They don't have to wipe it. They don't have to feed it. They don't have to brush it. They don't have to worry about its cellulite or its wrinkles. They don't have any of that to worry about, okay? Their only purpose is to send us signs how to live out our divine eternal nature and the purpose that we came back for. And it's found in our gifts and our talents and our abilities. And if we could, and we are not going to find the signs or observe the signs in the past by churning up what should have happened or could have happened, and about worrying and stressing about the future, because the future is only determined by what we do in the now. So if we could just be present and set our intention every day, please let my eyes be open to see how I can help others and how others can help me. And let my eyes be open to the signs. And I've always said since I've walked in, I will to will thy will. There is no other higher service for me to be of service to God. And his bidding, not my bidding. And so by doing that, when things come across my path, I wiggle. That's my sign. I have this inner wiggle inside of me that just tells me, even if you can't figure it out, you need to step forward, and you need to step forward immediately. And that's led to Pete and I booking moves before we knew where we were going to live. We knew the city we were going to, but our house wasn't ready for us. And so moving companies have said to us, how can you book a move when you don't have an address to go to? And I said, well, if God told us to book this move on this particular date, then we will be provided for. And in every instance, we've been provided for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it may not been in the way that we were attached to or expected, but it always worked out for not only the greatest good of ourselves, but the greatest good of all concerned. And it was just, it's a magical way of living. And it's something which is practiced. And once you do this, there's no going back.
No, it's like, what is it, the red pill you take in the Matrix? Looking at John over here. It's the red one, right?
It's definitely the red pill. But you know, I must address that what so many of us are seeing in the media and seeing in our politics, and people. There are lots of people that are very upset by this. I'm very encouraged by this because this circus would not be happening unless everything is disclosed, everything is revealed. I had a relative recently say to me, you know, life was never like this before. I said, no, it was not like this before because everything was hidden. I said everything was carefully, you know, hidden away, wasn't revealed, and now we can see the true nature of the divided party system, which was never meant to help humanity. It was always meant to divide and separate. And it just shows me that things are getting closer and closer to being a world in which we work together. There's acceptance, there's unity, there's honor. There's honor for an individual and what they believe in. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen it since coming out of the closet, if you could call it that, with my Angel Walk-In experience. I speak openly about it, and I really don't care if anyone gets me. If I don't want to have anybody on my side, but I certainly will not be shut down from speaking about it. And that's all I do, is I just share the experience. What other people do with it, that's their own paradigm. And it certainly doesn't stop me from being honest and truthful about the experience that I've had.
Living without compromise, right?
Living without compromise, exactly. Not settling for anything less. Because it doesn't fit into a prescribed box, you know, and others' way of thinking. So I get this. I get this. I come by this very honestly. I get this from my dad, who was. It was not only the father of the former soul, but he was a very important mentor and teacher in other lifetimes to me. We're like two kindred spirits, and we have a very, very strong bond. And
yes, you brought a poem.
I would
from
like
your dad.
to read a poem of his. He was a man before his time, and he wrote such beautiful metaphysical poetry about nature, poetry about God. This one touched me very deeply. Don't let your heart fall apart at the seams. Don't ever let the world ever dampen your dreams. Don't ever believe that evil succeeds. Don't ever succumb to nefarious deeds. Don't let the media plunder your hopes, or conventional wisdom tie your ideals in ropes. Don't sell your conscience for brass or a bone. Don't ever think that you are truly alone. Bolster your spirit and follow your star, and God will be with you wherever you are.
This is so beautiful.
Leonard, Leonard Milgram. Leonard Milgram is his name, and he tells me that he is composing poetry on the other side and will be channeling it.
Wow, I can't wait.
So
thank you for bringing that. This is absolutely beautiful and so timely for what is happening on this planet. To really allow the truth. I always say we're living in the age of illumination.
Yes.
And so much is shifting. And I've been rereading The Quiet Storm, and she talks about so many of the things that are happening right now. All these light beings are coming to this planet or walking into people's bodies. And it's the first time we're actually becoming or shifting on such a tremendous level, and a lot of people don't feel like, okay, how am I supposed to do that? I want to have a book over here where everything is written, so I can check mark everything off.
Yeah.
But there's no roadmap for that.
There's no roadmap because it's never been done before. We are the spiritual warriors. We are the pioneers.
Yes.
I guess we're the guinea pigs in this experiment of illumination.
Yeah.
And if I could just give a word of advice, is to follow your bliss, follow your heart. That's not to say that, you will never listen to anybody else, to the exclusion of anyone else, but make yourself a priority. Make your joy and your creativity, your enthusiasm a priority. It's funny, when I brought out my my book, Angels of Faith, is my lovely little children's book, Angels of Faith. I mean, when I that was channeled to me by a little bird, actually, in 2006. When I finally brought the book out for publication, I could have said to myself, oh, there have been so many books about angels written, and who am I to write another book about angels? But something stopped me, and I said, a book on angels has never been written with my energetic signature. No. And if we could just understand that when we shed this funny little meat suit, as I call it, and we are in spirit across the veil, our energetic frequency is so special that out of the billions and trillions and gazillions of souls that there are no two alike, just like snowflakes. And we are so individualized. And I said to myself, well, I'm going to write the book. I'm going to bring it out because it has my energetic signature on it.
Yes.
And therefore, it is special and unique.
And then it's, again, allowing the audacity to be authentic.
Yes.
Where you're not hiding behind old paradigms or putting on a fake, putting on a mask.
Yes.
But really allowing yourself to be seen for who you are. Yes. Because that will bring out your frequency to attract the people who are in resonance with your frequency.
Exactly. And a lot of people don't understand that. Yeah.
And I know that you've been on a journey, even publishing I Am an Angelic Walk-In and having your face. John, can you put it? He's already bringing up the book. Thank you.
Now that
we communicate telepathically, John and I.
Okay, I'll just go into a little bit into that, because when I walked in 2003, I was open about my experience, but I was very selective who I shared it with. I shared it with, I was asked to speak at a psychic expo on the Sunshine Coast in Australia, and these were like-minded people, and I felt very comfortable there. Another woman who had a huge gathering of like-minded people in her home once a month. She had different speakers, and I felt comfortable speaking about my experience there. So for the better part, I was not fully public about this up until 2012. And then really my angelic family, the Posse of Angels, started saying, it's time for you to go global. And that's when they led me to start my Angel Healing House radio program, which really boomeranged me out to an international world. And it's just gotten exponentially larger and larger. And then when they had me write my autobiography, I'm an Angelic Walk-In, and I was considering what to put on the front cover. I tuned in with them, and they said, oh, there's no doubt about it. Your face has to be on the cover. And I was like a deer caught in the headlights. I was like, it's one thing to speak about it, but it's another thing to put your face on the front cover. And that's when I really, truly did come out of the closet. And I said, okay, there is no going back. And this is a very important mission that I have chosen, not to be the only representative of all walk-ins, but to very comfortably and very groundedly speak about this experience and own it. That's all I have to do. It's not to change your point of view. It's not to get you to believe in walk-ins and as a higher concept or anything like that. It's just for me to bring forth the information and to share it with others.
And I feel like that's also an energetic shift that we're going through right now. A lot of light workers have been doing a lot of work behind the scenes, behind the veil.
Yeah.
And I think it's time to lift that veil because there's been so much judgment about this work.
Yes.
And then we go into the history of persecution, the witch hunts, all the things that have happened on the planet with the people who have been trying to anchor in the light for hundreds of years.
Yes.
And a lot of people carry that fear imprint of shining their light and being seen for who they are. And I feel a lot of people, that is still the reason why they're hiding.
Absolutely.
And doing the work behind the curtain, behind the veil. So I love how you're one of these torchbearers
Yes.
who has come out from behind the curtain by putting your face on the cover and openly talking
If
about
we're
it.
doing, and in fact, if we're doing this, and we are stepping forward, I can almost guarantee you that you've been destroyed in a previous incarnation for doing this. I had one friend who gravitated with everything to do with the south of France, and she read about it and studied it and everything else, and she was deemed a witch, and she was thrown off a medieval tower. She was so afraid of heights all her life. Another friend was so afraid of water, she never could figure this out. We did a past life regression on her, and she had been put in the stocks as a witch, and she had been drowned. And so with my being burnt at the stake, I could really relate to this.
Yeah.
And so many of us have that etheric blueprint still inside of us. We never fully get rid of that, but to make peace with it and just to see it as another step and to get beyond that. And we have been promised in this lifetime that it will not happen to us. That is the promise that has come down for us. And just to step forth boldly and to know that that's the mission that we've been led to come back and share with the planet.
Yeah. I love
And
that.
every time we do that, just magical things happen. I am so excited. And being Angel Ariel, and I am human. I bleed, I cry, and I go through all of those things as well. And I am so excited, anticipating where all of this has gone. I mean, Christy, your foundation that you've built with Joel the Squirrel and your movies and all your healing work and the massive amounts of things that you have done, in the last 10, 15 years or beyond that, the Posse of Angels have said that was phase one. All of that was phase one. And every time we followed the voice of the divine and we wrote the book and we started the radio or the TV program and we followed our intuition when it wasn't logically to do it. It's just, okay, I'm doing this. I don't know why I'm doing this, but every time we did this, it created another foundation for us, and we have completed that first phase, and we're kind of in like a bit of a hiatus at the moment. It's just like we're waiting for the new we're not even waiting, but we're anticipating the new coming in to really boomerang us out to a wide global audience, a shifted audience that is hungry for this information and they can discern truth now.
Yes.
They can tell with a lot of false flags and false news and all kinds of things that are going on in the world. They can really start to discern what is in their best interests and what speaks to their hearts. And they will gravitate to those people who have cemented that foundation and put themselves valiantly out there.
That's so beautiful. The world is getting ready.
Yes, the world is getting ready. It's
so funny. At the beginning, I said I was going to chime in, but everything that I've been thinking, you guys telepathically have been answering the question before I can even come out and say it. So there's ways of reiterating, but I'm just like, wow. And can you believe? I mean, it's already flown by. We're almost at 50 minutes already. It's just incredible how quick.
Oh my gosh.
But what would you say, especially to people who have tried in the past, who have put themselves out there and it hasn't worked?
Okay, all right. If you've put yourself out there and it hasn't worked, it has worked actually, but it hasn't worked the way you expected it. Or an attachment to it. And you're a different person now.
Yes.
Because you, even in the last year, and 2016 was a killer for so many people.
Yes.
It was just, if we knew in 2015 what would happen in 2016, we would have been out of here. I mean, that was just a killer of a year.
Yeah.
So I would say approach it differently. Do what you love doing and take away all expectation and all attachment to it. For a long time, I asked for more clients, and I said to God and the posse of angels, if I'm doing such extraordinary transforming work, I should have lines, around the state, around the country. And they said, no. And I said, send me more clients. They said, go write another book. Go write another book. And so and so I stopped thinking that my abundance had to come from clients.
Wow.
And you also have kept writing books. You were told, write another book.
Write
and
another
you said,
book.
one day, am I going to publish? No, write another book.
Write another
Yeah.
book. Write another book. We'll take care of that. We'll take care about it, where it's going, for the greatest good of yourself and the greatest good of all concerned. So, John, I would tell people that. Take away your for my healing practice, I should have seen so many people. I should have had so much money. I should have whatever. There's no shoulds.
Right.
Take off that expectation and attachment and just follow your bliss and your creative passion and your joy, and ask the angels to send you signs how to be of best service. And it may not be in the way that you thought it had to come in, because the how and the when of it, of our fearlessly following the dreams of our imagination, is not our providence. It's the providence of God and the angels.
And to live in this present moment and this frequency, because I keep hearing that word frequency over and over again. And as I'm listening to you speak, I'm like, if it doesn't resonate with you, it's almost like a radio. You can just change the channel. So your frequency is going out to those that it's meant to to hear it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then if not, just switch the channel, maybe switch back if when you're ready for it. So that's what's really, I keep hearing that word frequency, and I feel like there's been a huge change in the frequency of planet Earth and what's going on right now.
Never worry about numbers.
Yeah.
Never worry about where it's going.
Okay.
All we can do is deliver the message,
Yeah.
and then once that's done, we need to let go, because it's not about the quantity of people's lives that we're touching. I love what the Torah says: he that saves or helps save one person saves the world. And so
beautiful.
and so a lot of people say, with likes and shares and social media and so many things, it's not the quantity, it's the quality of your intention.
Yes.
And just stepping up and authentically and honestly, transparently delivering that message in the most joyful and enthusiastic way you can.
That is amazing. Thank you. I think that's a beautiful closing sentence
Yes.
for the day. Sure, I could talk to you for another hour or 2 or 3 over here.
Thank you.
And how can people find you?
You can find me at Angel Healing House, which is www.angelhealinghouse.com. That phone number is 831-277-3716. You can also email me at Candy, C-A-N-D-Y, at angelhealinghouse.com. I'm on Transformation Talk Radio every Tuesday at 9 a.m., weekly show. And I never have guests. The Posse of Angels told me never to have guests. But the first 20-25 minutes is a channeled information on direction and clarity and inspiration and all kinds of wonderful things they channel to me. And then I take callers from around the world the last half an hour, and we have a love fest.
That's beautiful. And everybody go out, read the books. They're beautiful, amazing, a page turner. I can never put down your books once I start one.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for being here today and sharing this time and all your beautiful energy and
You're
information.
welcome. Thank you for all that you do, Christy.
Thank
Love you.
Love you too. And we want to hear from the audience. How did this conversation inspire you to step into your authenticity, to have the audacity to be authentic? What are you choosing to bring out in the world, and how are you choosing to follow your inner voice? Let us know. Put it in the chat box, put it in the Facebook box, and we'll see you next Wednesday at 3 o'clock. Hold on. Don't go away yet, because there's something really amazing I want to share with you. We are doing a swag bag contest during the months of May and June. So what does that mean? As you may know, the show also lives as a podcast on iTunes. So what we would like for you to do is head on over to iTunes, find the Rebel Hearts podcast, and leave us a review for today's show or any of the shows that are already up there or any of the shows that are going to be up there. And for each review, your name will be entered into our swag bag contest. And we will draw the winner of the contest on our live show on July 5th. And we have some amazing sponsors for the swag bag contest. We have Bulletproof, we have coffee, and a whole bunch of other ones that we're going to announce over the next few weeks. And every single product that is included in that swag bag is absolutely aligned with the Christie values, which means it's eco-friendly, it's organic, it's fair trade, the companies all are really, really high vibes. So you really want to get your name into the contest, get the reviews done, and participate in it. And we have 10 bags to give away. So as I said, hop on over to iTunes, leave us a review, and enter for a chance to win one of our amazing swag bags. See you next week, and remember to rebel on.